The one thing they did convict about. Here's Sam Adams Jr.
Crime spree, that these were horrible things that had happened. And 12 men and women did their duty and said, you know what, the government, whatever you want to say, could not prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, that's where we're at. Now, if you want to figure out exactly who's to blame for the 24th count, look at me. Blame me. I was the one who came in there and did the opening statement. I was the one that took on the FBI agents. I was the one that obviously did not do a good enough job of cross-examination in my closing argument of showing that that was about state contracts and not about fundraising. Blame me. But I have said consistently, and from December 17th when I got on this case, I went down on the impeachment. I came down here time and time again. I gave opening statements. I said from the very beginning that this government could not prove Rod Blagojevich guilty of a single offense when it comes to any kind of corruption or anything like that. And we were right. We were said that, Mr. Gowdy, because they didn't do anything wrong. I said follow the money. And where do they follow the money? Right back to the IRS. I said, when you come in here and you look at them and you know Lon Monk's going to tell you, without a doubt, this man wouldn't take cash. And what did Lon Monk come in here and tell us, Mr. Gowdy? He came in here and told us that of all the people, best friend, people that he spent time with, people that he had been around, that Lon Monk knew him better than he knew himself since law school. And he said, I couldn't tell him I was taking cash because I knew he would never approve. Now, that's what you just saw. That's the man who just left. And if you want to blame somebody, I'm looking at every single camera. I'm talking to the people of Illinois. I'm talking, and they're going to say it that I'm talking to the next jury. Yes, I'm talking to the next jury. You want to blame somebody, you look right at me and say, Sam obviously didn't do a good enough job. And when it comes to the next time, I guarantee you, we'll do everything we can like we did this time to make sure. I don't know. I don't know. I tell you this. I woke up this morning at about 1:15. I haven't been to sleep. I woke up yesterday about 1:15. I didn't sleep then. I can't tell you what this next. This is all brand new to me. You want the honest to goodness answer? 2. I'll give you 2. So let me get it. Number 1. I don't know. And this is why I don't know. Why should the people of Illinois and the taxpayers in this county pay me? Why should, when we have dead babies on the street, when we have police officers in uniform that are day to day being shot and targeted by gang members, why should the people of Illinois pay a criminal defense lawyer when we've already been through trial? Now, I don't know if anyone's got an answer. I wish this entire group would go upstairs and ask Mr. Fitzgerald one question. I understand he's got an important job, but why are we spending $25 to $30 million on a retrial if you couldn't prove it the first time? You know, that may be, but isn't there more important things out here? Seriously speaking, isn't it more important that perhaps we go to the communities out here that are being victimized by the people who live in it and say, we're going to help you. The money we would spend on a retrial, we're going to give back to the people of Illinois. Why shouldn't that be done?
Sam, the prosecutors seem done with it.
That's a very good question. I don't know. I can tell you this. We don't know what. Why would a prosecutor who after 10 seconds, seriously, 10 seconds of hearing what the verdict is, jump up and say, no matter what, we're trying this case again? You want to think about it, wouldn't you? You want to say, look, let us sit down and reorganize our thoughts here. Is this worth it? And that's what I ask the people out there. Is this worth it?
Yes. If there was one element you could point to in this case that resulted in most of these counts being something you did from a strategy point of view, even not putting him on the stand, what was it that led you up on the jury here?
And honestly, my honest goodness answer is what I've been saying all along is, like I said in opening, you're going to find out that he is a fundamentally non-corrupt individual. He is not corruptible. And when the evidence came out and showed that, now it became a question of were there some technical violations here and there. And the governor couldn't prove there was, and this jury, who thank God that this is a jury who spent 14 days, took their time, took their lives, took this case seriously. I thank them, and from the bottom of my heart, I mean this. If you want to blame somebody, blame Sam Adams Jr.
Sam, what did you think when you heard the prosecutor say absolutely?
What about Patty Blagojevich?
Are you concerned they could charge Patty?
No, I'm not concerned. She didn't do anything either. Everybody knows that she worked for her money. Everybody knows that. Listen, this guy Fitzgerald is a master at indicting people for non-criminal behavior. And if you don't believe me, go ask Scooter Libby. Same thing happened with him. They couldn't get him on any substantive offense, so they got him on some bull case that wasn't even a crime. Ask Scooter Libby. This guy is going wild. This guy is nuts. He doesn't indict people for crimes and then prove it. He didn't prove it against Scooter Libby, and he can't prove it against Rod Blagojevich.
Are you saying lying to a federal officer?
I'm saying that he indicted him by telling the newspapers and everybody else, and the newspapers picked it up. Where's Mark Brown to tell you about it? Every day he was out there in the paper talking about how guilty he is. Wait just a moment. Chuck Gotti, the senior newsman here, has a question. The answer, the answer is they got him on something that he had no opportunity to really defend. He got himself a lawyer 5 years ago who was an ex-U.S. attorney, my pet peeve, who had him make statements to the FBI that weren't on a tape recorder and were not recorded by a court reporter. That's what happened here. And then the man comes down here and tells you, I stopped a crime spree. I saw that Lincoln is rolling over in his grave. He tells you all that and sets the press against this man. And for a year and a half, we've had to contend with the press, and we've had to, and I don't mean you guys. You guys are fine. I'm talking about the columnists. You guys, especially you, Paul. I'm not talking, wait just a moment, Paul. Just a moment. This is one of those situations where he vilified the defendant so bad in the press that we had to, when the case started, Shelley and I, you know how we started this case? Shelley and I had to go to Ace Hardware and find a ladder to crawl up to the bottom. That's how low we were.
They said not guilty. They just said it.
Well, they said they couldn't prove it. They had the government said they would. Well, you know, we don't have to prove our innocence. And don't forget, that's a good point. Don't forget, we didn't put on any defense. None. Zero. Zip. Nothing. And they still couldn't get a conviction. And they couldn't get a conviction again.
This jury said,
Are you going to put on a defense the next time? Are you going
well, you know, the next time, I don't believe that Fitzgerald is going to prosecute him the next time because of the tens and 20s millions of dollars he spent this time. I don't know if the public will stand for him going out here and wasting public money like that. And next time he'd have to pay the lawyers for the defense as well as pay for the prosecution.
The former governor probably upstairs said, "Are you with me for the next trial?" What did you tell him?
I told him, let's get over the press conference because Paul asked some very, very pertinent questions. They came into the... Let me tell you something. They came into the governor's house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they took him out of his house and away from his baby and away from his wife, and they brought him down here in handcuffs. And what we didn't know at that time, what we now know, is that the same agents of Mr. Fitzgerald are out someplace getting Mr. Kozel. Remember Kozel? Gotten him, and while he's trying to dress his invalid wife, and to use his word, they terrified him out there. You know, this Fitzgerald thinks this is a banana republic in Illinois or something.
Gentlemen, is it fact you think that they got him on only count 24 lying to the FBI? Did the guys from 26 in California prove something in this building?
I don't think it proves anything. It proves, if anything, that they didn't have a case in the first place about the crime spree stop. The only crime spree that was stopped in this case, I'll tell you what the crime spree that was stopped was. The crime spree was Fitzgerald violating people's constitutional rights, and that was stopped today by the jury. The jury stopped that.
Is the right call for Ron not to testify?
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you this about the call, and I have to disagree with my son. Every decision on this case was talked about by the lawyers, and then it was brought to me. And we all discussed it. If there was a decision that was not right, including that one, it was mine. It wasn't his. It wasn't Lauren. Where's Lauren? Where's poor Lauren? There she is. It wasn't his. It was my decision. If mistakes were made in this case, it was my fault. My fault. I take the blame.
What was the governor's reaction to the case?
I'll tell you what his reaction was.